Yeah. Most anyone's watched anything Star Wars in a year.
Seriously though. My Star Wars YouTube views are down to 2018 levels.
My Star Wars YouTube views are down to 2018. And if I see a video hit like 3,000 on Datapad now, it's like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, can't all be big time. Just joking.
I'll have to ask Mark how he does it, and Charlie even.
Mm-hmm. Did you try ever putting like more red arrows in your thumbnails?
I actually did try that. There was the one I did recently on the Bakurin thing, where it was just like directly ripping off everything you've done in your life. Like someone commented on it, like I was expecting to see X Dog at the end of this video. I was like, fair enough.
Yeah, I did invent red thumbnails, so that's
well,
fair.
It wasn't just the red arrow. It was like everything. It was a very you thumbnail, I think. But
I kind of want to see this now.
I think I showed it to you when I did it.
Like I'm gonna be. Oh yeah, and I was probably like, this is great.
Like yeah, it's actually pretty nice.
Let's see.
It was like a week or two ago. It's like the Interdictor Star Destroyer with
yeah, okay.
like useless or something.
Yeah. No, it's good.
All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Tapcaf Transmissions, the only Star Wars podcast that we're legally allowed to acknowledge on this podcast. I am Corey.
Is that because I get in so many Twitter fights and they all hate me now?
Yeah, I'm actually. This is my last podcast with you. I have to disavow and dissociate, especially your tweets about Age of Ultron, the beloved classic. So
yeah, I mean,
it started off so positive for you. Where the first tweet I saw was like, "Oh, I love this part," and then an hour later, like the stars saying it's garbage.
Well, okay. First of all, it wasn't an hour later because I watched it over 3 days. No,
time means nothing to me right now.
The first little bit is okay, and then it's not okay after that.
Well, yeah, that's how the Avengers feel about it as well. Yeah, probably how a lot of people who work with Joss Whedon feel about him. So it's
I mean, I think he's pretty shouty from the start, but yeah.
But we are back after about a month off. We were going to do the Victory's Price podcast with Star Wars Explained about 3 years ago, March 3rd. And unfortunately, Eck has been sick since then, so we weren't able to do it. So we are here now to talk about Victory's Price, which is fantastic and I loved. But
yeah, no, it was really good. Probably my favorite of the three, actually.
Yeah, it might be my favorite of the 150. 200.
Out of every Star Wars book you've read?
It's up there. Like it's going to be definitely S tier, strong contender for top of S tier for me.
I get that. I mean, it's good, but I just think like I don't like the new EU as much as the classic stuff, so
yeah, I still prefer like the Legends continuity to new canon just because of how much is there. But if I think about any individual book, I don't know that I've ever been thinking about a Star Wars book as much as I did about this. And I kind of spaced out how I was reading it because we were going to do the podcast and then we didn't. So I still had a bit left. So I was like, I'm going to hold off until we're actually doing the podcast to finish it. So it's a bit fresher. But even taking a few weeks off, I was still thinking about it like at least once a day. Like, how do I feel about this? That's something that I haven't really gotten with anything else we've read. Like, I still love Plagueis, and I like a lot of the world building stuff that does. But as an actual book, making me think about things is not something that Star Wars often accomplishes. The closest thing to it was maybe Traitor when I read that a few months ago. But yeah.
But like, you didn't have like, so you said because you finished it today, right? Like you didn't have issues remembering things because like I was like blanking out on parts of Alphabet Squadron 2. Like I kind of forgot the entire cult subplot.
Yeah, like there was stuff from Shadowfall that I forgot about until the book reminded me of it, and even taking the time off where there were elements of it that I did forget about. Like I'm not saying it is a perfect or the perfect book,
No,
But
I mean that's just
in the
like
scale of Star Wars
that's
books,
not the book's fault.
especially, it's
I mean, I'm not gonna blame the book for my bad memory. Like, no one
yeah.
beat me over the head with it. Like,
Like we'll
yeah.
definitely get into the strengths and weaknesses of different parts of it. But before we jump too far into the world of Alphabet Squadron, I think there's like too many opportunities where people probably should have died and didn't. But I think
Mhm.
there's reasons that they survived, but then don't put them in that situation either. And any Star Wars news you want to talk about before we get into this?
Like it's been so long. It's been. I think our last episode was like what? Like was it March or
It
February?
was February like 25th or something.
Hmm. Yeah. So just so people know, what happened was like we weren't planning on skipping so many episodes. I had strep throat, and then I also had a really bad cold, which you can still kind of hear in my voice. I'm gonna have at least one voice crack this probably like five, and they're gonna get progressively worse and worse. Um, but yeah, sorry for the delay. It completely fucked up all of our because we were gonna do a discussion on WandaVision. I
Yeah.
kind of doubt we're gonna do that now.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
think you just didn't want it to eat into your views on the video you did, so
yeah,
I'm
I
still
mean,
kind of upset about that. We had to tell poor Charlie he's not coming back on. And
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of actual news though. I guess we got the Squadrons tournament to announce.
yeah, you want to
If you
talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you follow us on YouTube or follow me on YouTube, you'll know that we're doing a $20,000 Star Wars Squadrons tournament, largest Star Wars video game tournament ever, as far as I'm aware. Um, yeah, weekend of May the 4th. I think it's the 9th and 10th.
Yeah,
But yeah, check that out. I'm sure Corey will be involved somehow. I'll be involved, and it's going to be really fun.
yeah.
And then I
Squadrons
guess
is great.
we also have Bad Batch coming up as well.
Is
Like
that?
it's May 4th.
That is May 4th.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
because I keep blanking on the exact release date, even though I should know. But I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
May
Is it?
4th,
It's
and then I think they're doing one episode the first week and then two episodes the second week.
okay.
Yeah.
How many episodes is the first season?
I don't think we know.
Okay. Because usually with the
I
other ones, they announce the number of episodes. Like Kenobi's a 6 episode special event or something. But
Yeah, let me look. Bad.
But it seems like of all of them, Bad Batch is the one that's most likely intended to have like a longer run, multi-season,
Hmm.
Clone Wars ish thing.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be a Clone Wars stand-in, essentially. Like I do think that they kind of need something to keep people occupied, like between the more like the live action shows, which probably have a longer production time. So
Mhm.
I think we're gonna get multiple seasons of many episodes.
Hopefully, it seems
Hmm.
like they're open with all of them to go as long as they can get the money for
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
like Ewan McGregor can't be cheap for them to get as far as
No.
the star power they're pulling for all
No.
the different series. So
I mean, even more for Marvel because like the people they're getting for those like shows, like they're getting
mhm.
for what's it called, Winter Soldier and Hawkeye. Hawkeye?
Is Hawkeye going to be a
No,
show?
not Hawkeye. Sorry, Hawkeye's the bow and arrow guy, right?
The Falcon
Winter
and the Winter
Soldier and
Soldier.
Falcon. Yeah. Fuck, I knew it was something bird related.
Like, are we
Um,
giving Jeremy Renner
I
more
hate Jeremy
work?
Renner. No, I hate him.
Have you seen his music stuff?
No, but he just looks
He
like the kind of guy who you
I'll
just
have to
find
send you
chilling
his
out in.
album after this because it's everything you're
Um,
imagining.
it's just Jeremy Renner looks like the kind of guy who would be at like a basketball court, like at like 9 o'clock at night, just smoking darts. And the fact that they give him Linda, I can never say her last name,
Or-
Cardellini, is just like I don't believe it. She would never. She would never.
Well, even just the makeup that Paul Bettany has to sit through
Hmm.
to be Vision, that alone has to cost trillions of dollars and all of Paul Bettany's sanity. That's
Yeah, no,
why
for sure.
that's why the
Cumberbatch was like,
Benedict
I don't want
Cumberbatch,
to do
yeah,
it.
doesn't want to do
And I
Thrawn
don't blame
because of that
him.
shit. It's like, yeah, you spend enough time with Paul Bettany, he's gonna tell you don't do this shit.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like Don Cheadle can't be cheap either. Like,
Yeah.
because he's in Falcon. Have you watched episode 1 of that yet?
No.
Pretty good.
I've been planning to watch it. I don't know if I want to like watch it all at once. Dana was kind of on the fence about whether or not she would want to watch it. So I don't know if I'm just gonna
Mhm.
like binge it on my own while working or something. But
Should we give a brief discussion of WandaVision? Or do you want to just not?
I feel like we'd get super far off track and then we'd never get to Victory's Price.
30 seconds. 30
All
seconds.
right, go.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked it. I liked it more than you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked its premise. I thought it could have been executed better, but you, I think, had less problems with the execution.
I didn't like the ending quite as much but at the same time, you kind of know it's always going to devolve into people punching each other because it's Marvel.
I just wish like it hadn't been the it's Marvel. You can expect that, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like,
But
my
at
main
the same
problem, as I said,
time,
was,
we're
like,
going to say the
Scientist
same
Man
thing when
Scientist
we're
Woman.
reading like Jedi Prince or something. At the end, that's going to come down to just, oh, it's Star Wars, and we'll move on.
Yeah, I think comparing it to Jedi Prince is really helping it argument towards its quality.
Look, I've been reading Jedi Prince for my videos on the Grand Admirals, and it's great. I love it. Like, obviously, whoever has Palpatine or Vader's glove is going to rule the Empire. Like, what other mode of choosing a successor could you use?
Yeah, I mean, it's either Glove or Palpatine grandchild. It's like those are the only two viable.
Why not Luke? Like, he has a glove. He has a glove that's filling a similar purpose as Darth Vader's is. It's not Darth Vader's glove, but clearly they should be accepting Luke as both someone who has a glove and is the son of one of their Sith Lords. Like, I don't know if it comes up as a possibility ever in Jedi Prince, but they need to put some people on that.
Doesn't that come up in one book?
I haven't read them all yet, so maybe it does. Don't spoil it, please. I still think that there's a chance that Trioculus could be Emperor by the end of it. I don't want to be disabused of that notion.
I can't wait till they make their way into TR. I can't wait till Robot Leia makes her way into TR.
The best part about those books is that he's not the son. Kadan isn't Kadan. No one's who they're pretending to be in those books.
Leia's not Robot Leia. Too bad, because Robot Leia's pretty cool.
Just need to throw in the fake D'Asta, and it's great. But before we do Victory's Prize, though, should we say anything about what we're doing next? Should we decide what we're doing next? Have I convinced you through this discussion to do the first 3 books of Jedi Prince?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I tried.
I'd be open to it if that's really what you want to do.
I don't know that it is, but
I thought we talked about something, didn't we?
Well, it was going to be WandaVision, and then we were going to do we were talking about Bad Batch later. We talked in our Halo stream about doing when Bad Batch is on, we do a weekly recap and then have every 3rd week or something throw in a book. But we didn't really talk about what we're doing after this, I don't think, unless we're getting back to Young Jedi Knights.
We'll think about it, but that's also something we could use feedback on, especially the release schedule of Bad Batch, because it is going to be weekly episodes. So do you guys want us to do weekly? One thing we floated was moving it to 2 episodes a week or 2 episodes some weeks anyway, because we'll do weekly, as you said, weekly Bad Batch coverage, and then also kind of extra stuff as well.
Yeah, and the Bad Batch stuff wouldn't be hour and a half long. It'd probably be half an hour discussions, or maybe
we might even record
10,
them both
minutes.
At the same time.
Yeah, but yeah, so we'll figure that out. Maybe we'll jump back to that closer to the end of the podcast. But Victory's Price,
right?
Did it cost too much? Did it cost just the right amount?
That was the problem. It didn't cost quite enough.
Yeah.
But no, we were both lucky enough to get this one a little early, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Did you? So I listened to this on audiobook, as I always do, but it's a very nice hardcover. We got bearded Will Lark on the front.
So you got the hardcover early. I got the digital download. All right, I'm gonna have to talk to my Del Rey rep.
Or no, I didn't get the hardcover early. They always just send me one eventually. Okay. Yeah.
And by my Del Rey rep, I mean you. But yeah, here's my copy. If anyone wants.
You holding up your Kindle?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I mean let's give us a bit of basic overview, because it has been a while. I'm worried about also reading the new Thrawn book, because I don't remember at all what happened in Alliances, really.
In Alliances or in Chaos Rising?
Fucking Chaos Rising.
Yeah, if you probably don't need to know too much about what happens in
Thrawn Alliances,
treason and alliances for Chaos Rising, or for Thrawn's Revenge, whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Thrawn's
so
Revenge.
yeah, I guess we shouldn't assume that everyone listening has even listened to our episodes on
Mm-hmm.
Shadowfall and Alphabet One, because those were a fair while ago. That wasn't too
Mm-hmm.
long after Shadowfall came out. That was like
Yeah,
the
no.
one thing we've ever done in a timely manner. But yeah, so Alphabet Squadron is a New Republic intelligence unit that uses 5 different starfighters, and you'll find plenty of videos about why this is stupid. But it's actually not stupid once you read the books because they're not
No.
forming a starfighter squadron that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the most common complaints I see about the series, and it's just very clear that when you're making those complaints, you haven't actually read the book, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
But so they are tasked with hunting down the 204th Imperial Fighter Wing, which is in Shadowfall uh, and Victory's Price, kind of doing Operation Cinder 2.
Yeah,
So
I mean, Shadowfall is kind of like one of the most. It's not just a fighter squadron; it's like a whole wing.
yeah,
So it's like multiple squadrons. They're in the first book. They're attached to a star destroyer. At this point,
they're
they've
on a
fallen quite a
quasar.
bit. Is it a quasar?
I've always assumed the Yadiz was a quasar.
I thought it was like a bulk cruiser or something.
Quasar.
Mm, how do you spell it?
Quasar.
No, the ship.
Yadeez.
That's one thing about Yadi's nuts. One thing about listening to it on audiobook. Yeah, it says it's a bulk freighter.
I don't know. I pictured
Like I always imagine it as like basically like Han's
thing
ship.
in Force Awakens. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Because it's a piece of junk basically
Yeah.
that they've kind of repurposed. And yeah, like so by this point, like the first book is kind of about them disrupting, because all the books take place after Endor. We've got 5 pilots, of course, for each of the starfighters. One of them being Eric O'Quell, being a former Imperial who defected after Operation Cinder, which is like when the Empire went and did all this nasty shit. Like they held down Naboo and farted on their face and like stuff like that.
At the urging, the defection was at the urging of her commander, the commander of the
Yes.
204th,
Yeah, Soren Keys.
Soren Kreitza.
Good Star Wars name. What did you say?
Kreitza? He's
Keys.
Kreize.
There's no R. Were you reading the same goddamn book, Corey? It's Keize.
It's the Itza that matters.
Keys.
Sure. But yeah, Keys was trying to. Keys' whole thing is that he doesn't think that any of the Imperials that are still fighting, especially, will have any shot under the New Republic. So he keeps committing atrocities, kind of doubling down on the idea that like we need to keep doing this until we're stopped. We're going to die anyways. And the culmination of this book is that he's trying to attack Coruscant, which is an Imperial-held world still, to destroy a data bank that he and Quell, who find out, or who has been working with him as kind of like a double agent for the New Republic.
Basically, Palpatine's big Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, this is how all the people who were targeted as being given orders to commit or to take part in Operation Cinder were decided on. So everything, it's all the Imperial records on every crime all of them have ever committed, psychological profiles, just all the information that Palpatine could have needed to say, hey, you'd probably be willing to burn a world if I told you to. And
yeah,
he
So as
thinks
that's
that if he
happening
does
as
that,
well-
that if the New Republic gets that, then they're going to hunt down all of them. And if he blows it up, they'll have a chance at life.
Yeah, that was my favorite kind of theme of the book, because this is something that Erica's dealing with too. It's basically, how do you ever kind of, what can you do to make what you did okay? It's like, how can you possibly make everything you did okay? And at the end of the day, there's nothing. Like, there's nothing that she can do to make what she did okay. Like, there's no answer that's going to appear on the last page where it's like, actually, she was brain shipped by whomever. Like, there's nothing that makes it acceptable. Like, it's shit that they did this, and there is no like for some of them, there is no like happy answer where everyone gets what they want. Like Soren Keys, he committed atrocities, and people committed atrocities under his watch, and like there's no explanation for that. Like there's no solution to justify that.
Yeah, so it's how do you atone for that, and also how does the galaxy go back to peace after this has happened? At what point
Mm.
can the fighting stop? At what point are people supposed to be held accountable? And what does that even look like? Uh, what are even the New Republic soldiers supposed to do afterwards? Because while you have this stuff playing out with Quell and Keys that are trying to think like, or on the one hand, you have Quell kind of saying or coming to the idea that whatever punishment is decided for her, that's out of her hands.
Mm.
She can't grant herself absolution or forgiveness. Only the people that she's actually wronged can do that.
And they
And
might not. Like that's
yeah,
just like they might not.
and for Keys, it's we need to keep fighting. I need to look out for my own, and part of that means I'm going to keep doing this horrible shit because
Mm.
I feel like if even if I stop, and he did try to stop, we're going to be hunted forever.
Yeah.
But
And I like this because it's one of those things that appears to be morally gray. Like, oh, these are just people in the Empire following their duty. But like at the end of the day, that it's not that simple. Like Soren Keys is like, what the fuck? The New Republic won't let me just leave. It's like you commanded the genociding of a world. Like
and
you
then he
don't
was
deserve to
perfectly
get
willing
off.
to go back and do it again when he felt like it benefited him personally because he wasn't willing to accept like
Hmm.
what Quell accepts and what Keys never accepts is that part of any kind of atonement is accepting that there may be consequences that you don't
Hmm.
like. And what Quell brings up in their final conversation on Coruscant, which like jumped right to the end of the book, is that like yes, Keys is trying to do something that if everyone dropped and moved on right now, maybe that would be the best way to move forward. But at the same time, that's not
Hmm.
going to be the case for a lot of them. A lot of the Imperials that are doing what they're being told to do here aren't just going to be told, oh, I can go home now, and then just go home now. They're going to keep committing these atrocities. And
Hmm.
that's what they've been doing the whole time. Like, yes, he had decided for himself, oh, I'm out. And we see him as the kind of fake persona in the previous book before he gets hunted down.
Hmm.
But he's basically trying to prevent either justice or atonement by erasing the information,
Hmm.
which is usually not a good way to deal with things. Uh,
Yeah. It's just like there
but
comes a point where like there's no way out. Like
mhm.
you lost and you've got to atone and accept whatever that means.
One of the things that I did feel was a little bit heavy-handed throughout the like I like generally the way that it was that these themes were dealt with, but something that was kind of heavy-handed or maybe a bit too on the nose with the symbolism was Will wanting to go, like his planet
Hmm.
being referred to as home,
Hmm.
like capital H home, and like you can never
Hmm.
go home again.
Hmm.
Because beyond Quell and Keys, you still have Chas, Nath, and Will, the other like the New Republic pilots,
Tyros.
still dealing with the same kind of things. Like because while Quell and Keys are like right after Quell and Keys have this conversation, we kind of time jump forward a little bit. And
Mm.
even Will is holding a lot of what he did during the war over himself, and he wasn't really responsible for burning entire planets. So there's
No,
a
yeah,
broader
he.
treatment of how soldiers after a war are being treated.
Hmm. Yeah, no, and that's also something that what's her name is dealing with throughout the entire book, where she's got like nothing outside of like Alphabet Squadron and her crew.
Yeah. Chas is like looking for a
Chas,
way to
yeah,
commit suicide.
yeah, exactly. And then at the end, she's like, yeah, actually, maybe not.
Yeah, I actually like I loved that she had been established so well throughout the three books that just the simple line of she hopes she makes it actually had some impact.
Hmm.
They all end up living, which I thought at least one of them would die, and I thought it would be Will. Did you get that feeling?
Mm, I thought one would die, but I wasn't sure who it was going to be. Like, I really had no clue. I thought it might be Erica because there was that no way out, but that was also kind of an easy way out for
Mhm.
her. So yeah.
Well, it's something Star Wars is usually not very good at, where like the villain turns good, and rather than kind of facing up to what it actually means to have been redeemed without it being
Mhm.
just like by fiat, like, oh, now Vader's great, Kylo's great, then they just immediately die. So you never have to really think about like, oh, what does it mean for them to kind of try to reintegrate in society? And that's
Mhm.
the whole thing that Quell is dealing with the entire time, and that Keyes is trying to come to terms with having to deal with.
Mhm.
And he dies because he can't accept that, like, no, at some point this does mean accepting, like, I have done these things, people will know I have done these things. So even if Keyes is successful, they hunted him down without having access to that data bank. It's not like
Mhm.
he's willing to kill thousands of people to get rid of this information.
Mhm.
So the New Republic could just as easily have found out just as much information. He's sure it's a symbolic thing for him to do, but it is yet another atrocity that he's piling on, and it wouldn't have fixed the things he thinks it's going to fix.
Yeah, and as this is happening, he's still actively like doing another Operation Cinder on like a new planet, or
Yeah,
he's trying to,
yeah.
or he had just tried to, because there's this planet. I forget what's it called. It's the new one. But it's
So,
weird because it's got like it's an interesting planet because it's got like all these constructs around it, kind
oh,
of.
the satellite planet with the battle.
Yeah.
Can't remember the name anymore because that one I did read a month ago.
Hmm. That was a cool planet though. It's got like
Yeah,
all these ancient satellites which uses to regulate.
there's a lot of Ch planets in the book, which makes it a bit harder to keep track of
Yeah.
some of them.
Yeah. But that was there were some good space battles as well. So in this one, the New Republic has moved on and has an Imperial Star Destroyer as their flagship.
Hera's
Well,
flagship,
Hera's flagship. Yeah.
Pharma battle group, bladder group. That's gross.
Hmm.
But well, they even talk about it a bit with the ship, like Hera, how Hera sees the ship compared to Lodestar,
Shadoweye. Yeah.
and how it still feels too imperial for her. And they make some comments at Quell about like, oh, being at home on a star destroyer. But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was cool though, just from like a ship nerd perspective.
yeah, I do
Um.
think the space battles in this series have been handled really well because I've just recently read some of the other NJO stuff, and
Mhm.
some of those books are really good because you have some by like Aaron Alston and Michael
Yeah.
Stackpole, but then some authors' space
They're
battles are not
melting
really
planets with
there.
space mirrors.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
battle in Darksaber at Yavin just sticks with me as one of the. I just hate it so much.
Yeah, it's trash. It's not even a battle. It's just like they've got massive. It's like, okay, we got to destroy the Jedi Temple. We've got a super star destroyer over the planet. They've got no ships. What should we do?
Well, they have a
Fly
Galactic
down there.
Voyager, which can fight all of them.
Oh yeah, well, easy.
Yeah.
It was a bit like that in Galactic Voyager. There's a few Mon Calamari cruisers that like they really hit above their weight, taking on like super star destroyers and like
Von
whole
Ramonda
fleets and
fights an
stuff.
SSD.
Yeah.
Galactic Voyager fights an SSD and 20 ISDs.
Hmm.
It, yeah. There's some books that take uh plot
Well,
armor
no, Mon
to.
Ramonda fights the. Or no, it's not Mon. Is Mon Ramonda there in courtship with
Uh,
the sovereign?
is this? I don't think the Sovereign comes up in court. Well, I guess you have to assume that the Sovereign is there based on the
No,
visual
that's
dictionary
the.
thing.
It's the
But
weird. Yeah, the weird
does the name
mistake.
Sovereign get dropped in courtship? Is that where that comes from?
It gets
Or
dropped in the audiobook, I think,
okay.
because yeah, they call it the sovereign accidentally.
Well, there's also like 3 Iron Fists in the book, and then I think that partially
Mm,
gets retconned into Zinj's old flagship Iron Fist, the VSD, like pre-Endor. But
yeah.
courtship is super weird with trying to identify anything in it
Hmm.
because
Super good for getting me into fights on the Wook, though.
yeah, like you could justifiably come up with 17 different sizes for a battle dress out of that.
Yeah.
Oh well. There's no battle dragons in Victory's Price though, which I'm putting down in my negatives column.
There might have been one at Jakku.
Well, it doesn't come up because we get such a small picture of Jakku in this because
which I really liked.
yeah, because they don't try to hide the fact that like yeah, what you're doing is important, but it's just this small part of what's
Mhm.
going on. When Chas is like bailed onto the planet and she sees the things like she thinks of them as like moths off in the distance, that's got to
Mhm.
be the SSD being pulled down by the Starhawk, right? What I
Mhm.
assumed it was, which I thought was
Oh,
cool.
you don't mean the part where there's like the literal horses she sees, like the things from Will's planet.
No, not the horde. Like she's looking in the sky and she's
Mhm.
seeing things in the sky, like small shapes in the sky, and it like turns sideways and it looks like wings, which I assume
Yeah.
is the SSD being pulled down by the Starhawk.
Yeah. Will sees it too when he's in the escape pod,
Yeah,
or it like he sees something turning the battle, and I assume
yeah,
it's that. I gotta say though, although I still don't like I think a lot of the just arithmetic doesn't add up with like the Empire having that's all their ships and stuff. It did a good job of making the Battle of Jakku feel like this like
hmm
hellscape and like this like really traumatic but really like almost like dreamlike in its intensity. Like it's
hmm
like everything is there. And that's
yeah,
one thing that like I think Jakku is gonna be like in these books for a long time because it's like everybody in the galaxy on either sides is there. Like we get Jakku in spoiler alert, Corey, Lost Stars. You get the Battle of Jakku. Um, you get it in Battlefront 2. You get it in Empire's End. You get it now. You get it in other books where it's just like pure savagery. Just like it's just the end, and they know it's the end, which
yeah.
is cool.
Well, I do think it does still leave room for there to be other stuff, like other Imperials
Oh
of the Galaxy
yeah.
just aren't coming to it. And I think that's something that's overlooked a lot with complaints about Jakku and the
Mhm.
Fall of the Empire. Like, yeah, it's only a year after Endor, but there's still not necessarily everyone still listening to the Central Command. This is what's left of a very broken up Imperial Central Command, and we see that
Mhm.
with Chadawa, because Madrigast is
Yeah,
like that's
he's just playing
a little
defense.
warlord. Not everyone's
Yeah.
in on the fake Operation Cinder, or not fake Operation Cinder, but like Operation Cinder 2, because that's who they're
Yeah.
killing. It's all these Imperials who have not gone over to the New Republic, but they're not taking orders from
Well,
uh
I mean, there's also in I don't think you've read Aftermath, have you?
no.
Because like Aftermath also reveals that like a lot of the fleet is just gone. Like they just leave and they're hidden. Like thousands of ships are just hidden in nebulas and stuff. Um, like the selected chosen ones are taken out of the galaxy to form the First Order or whatever.
Mhm.
Which is why it's really annoying that they end up making the Zeist in a completely new class of ships because they had a ready-made fleet of ships that's like, oh, they snuck them out of the galaxy. And that also would have helped explain why the Empire lost all their ships because,
Yeah.
you know, they were squirreled away. That's a big fuck up on Pablo Hidalgo or whomever wrote that,
The
or
Zeiston
whoever
is
wrote that
definitely
portion
my
of it.
least favorite part of the sequel trilogy. Like,
Hmm.
even make it a full fleet of resurgences.
Or just refit Star Destroyers,
Yeah.
refit ISDs. Like that
I don't like
explains
having
because
that many super weapons of any kind, but
mhm. That's
I'm
like
fine
the
with
two
giant
birds with
fleet.
one stone thing.
Yeah.
Like, because now you have an explanation for where, like, why the Empire died off so quickly. Their navy was just gone.
Yeah. Like the big thing for me has always been like that breakdown in Central Command is going to be for an entity like the Empire, which is so focused on
Hmm.
uh being hierarchical. When you
Hmm.
have that unclear command structure, it different people trying to say they're in charge. Like you get people like Sloane, and maybe we'll see something kind of similar happen with Thrawn that kind of put themselves in power. But in Legends, we see how the warlords function, and it's not like Jakku is like a hard end to any Imperial forces
Hmm.
existing in the galaxy. And
Hmm.
I think that time period kind of gets it overlooks the fact that like the Clone Wars, which devastated the galaxy and sets up the next 2 trillion years of Star Wars books in both continuities, is only 3 years itself.
Hmm.
So a year's longer than people give it credit for.
Oh yeah, you are right. Yeah, that's true. Gaius Rax is one of the kind of ones who emerges
Mhm.
too in canon, but it's so weird how he's just been kind of completely.
Yeah, he
I
gets
don't.
super sidelined because he's like definitely out of it by
Well, yeah, because he dies, but like he's
yeah,
in Aftermath and not like literally nothing else. I don't think he's even been mentioned.
yeah.
Maybe in like a novelization or something, but like it's weird. Like they're still trying clearly to fix some. I mean, I do think you're right that a year's longer than people think, but like the New Republic going from ragtag to full, galactic government still it's still hard in a year. I
Well, they
think.
kind of deal with that in this, where they're still jumping from planet to planet. Like their government ends up in like 2 or 3 different places. They're still waiting to get into Coruscant,
Mhm.
uh, which is only off by like a couple years in Legends and canon. It's what is it 6 ABY
7 maybe.
in Legends,
Yeah, I
and
think 7 maybe.
it'd be 5
5.
6 ABY here, like getting just
Yeah,
after
it
Jakku.
happens right after Jakku.
Yeah. Did Masameda like move a bit too fast, putting up a giant hollow statue of himself? Like,
Yeah.
are they not supposed to still be pretending to mourn their Captain
Yeah, and
Rickles?
so like there's massive meta chapters in Aftermath, and from what I remember, he doesn't even really want the job. So
Yeah, he. Uh, I don't know. I don't see the justification for a Masameda statue. Even if it is a
same. So
hologram, so they probably just like load a different 3D model. Maybe they have it as like a Windows desktop thing where every 30 minutes it just cycles between Palpatine, Vader, Masameda.
one of those random guys chilling with him in the Death Star too.
It just goes to that picture of the like the viziers and everything.
Yeah. Well, say Pestage is in canon now as well. Say Pestage was pretty big in Aftermath from what I
Yeah.
remember. Which is kind of cool.
I even have notes saved for
Let me
this.
just check my notes. It's been so long. We skipped over big portions of the book. One thing I was wondering, you know how Will puts that call home and then they get attacked later?
Yeah.
Was that because of Will's call? I thought it was hinting at that.
Yeah, I think it probably was.
Mhm.
But there's also the thing where like Holmes sent the people for the recovery later, so they were gonna get involved regardless. It was gonna happen.
No, but I mean, like when the buzz droids came, or
Yeah.
like because it seemed to be that there was some sort of operational like security break, and I thought the hint was that it was kind of Will's fault, but then it doesn't really.
Well, I think it was hinting that it was Will's fault for doing like for trying to talk to everyone all the time and giving so many details about his life.
Mhm.
Like I don't know if anyone has if you work in like a call center or anything, they tell you never give out your information, even if you're collecting other
Mhm.
people's, because that's very unsafe. So Will really needs to take that into account. He's very generous with other people's security as well as his own.
Mhm.
But then it we've also got Blink there. Maybe she was kind of doing what Quell was doing the
Yeah,
other way
I guess
around,
it
but
probably
it
would have
depends
been
on
Blink.
how
I
long.
forgot about that reveal.
Well, when I read the reveal, I was like, how long has this been going on? Because they did Blink's
Mm.
funeral pretty recently as well. And
Mm.
it would have been the kind of thing that if she was actually passing information that maybe Quell would have heard about. So that would have been
Yeah, I do like. I remember reading because Quell's on the ship. I was like, why doesn't she just blow it up if she feels that way? But it is like ultimate, and she later addresses that where like, yeah, she could have blown it up, but like even, I think there's like the theme that like nobody, like everyone wants to kind of live. Like
mhm.
it's like yeah, Quell is racked with guilt and like more racked in the fact that she's a coward because like she only left because she was told to. But like
Yeah.
even then, it's not enough for her because she could have wiped out. Like she had access to the ship's reactor. She could have wiped out all of the 181st, but she
Yeah.
doesn't.
And she keeps telling herself like, "Oh, I shouldn't because or the reason I'm not doing this isn't because I'm afraid to. It's because oh, what if that fails and there's
Hmm.
no extra steps." So there was
But then also
that.
like she wants to like, protect her pilots.
Yeah.
Like also Hera fucks up so many times. Like I'd be so frustrated if I were like sabotaging the ship. You give Hera like 10 chances, she just can't finish.
Yeah. Stuff kept coming up. There was more important stuff to do, like not destroying Shadawa and
Hmm.
going, like thinking about missing out on a Starhawk because hers got destroyed in squadrons, and so she's
Hmm.
stuck on this deliverance. Very
Yeah,
sad.
yeah. I like the duel between Will and Keys as well.
Yeah, I see. I'm glad he survived that, but then I don't think they needed to have the 2 chapters of him being possibly exploded right after as well. Because
Hmm.
there was a bit of that in Shadowfall as well. This is one of the things that I think did bother me about the book, is there was a bit too much of like, oh, are they dead? No, they're
Hmm.
not. Because there was like Kairos did that, Quell did that. There's been multiple points where they each think that multiple of them could be dead. I'm okay
Hmm.
with the ones where it's like uh, you don't get the resolution to what they're happening yet, and that's the kind of mystery of are they alive or not, like Chast at the end of the battle. But like there's a few points where it's like, oh, Will is definitely 100% dead right now. Oh, no, he's not.
Hmm. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I like the moment where like it's brutal when he crashes and like he's just like strafing it, like
Yeah,
strafing his position. Um. And I mean, this book is very melodramatic as well. But like that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it serves this book a lot better than it serves the first one, where it's like I don't know if all that melodrama was earned, but like when you're on, when you're at the Battle of Jakku and there's like the Empire's crumbling around you, or like when you're on Coruscant and your commander's dying, you get away with a lot more melodrama
yeah,
than like it's your first night with these characters and they're, you know.
yeah. The melodrama, you kind of see why it is that way here, whereas in
Hmm.
Alphabet Squadron and even like the first half of Shadowfall, it's less clear what you're dealing with, so it does feel a little bit more.
Hmm.
Does this warrant what we're getting?
Hmm.
But that's why I've only got Alphabet Squadron, I think, a tier lower than Shadowfall in this book.
Hmm.
So
We also got we got an Akbar water reference. He said fleets like he saw the fleets like tides.
yeah, well, there's the acknowledgments that thank the X-wing books, and that's the place where Akbar water
Does
references
it?
just come. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read the hard copy, so I didn't see that. That's cool.
Yeah,
I
he
mean, we got
specifically thanks Michael Stackpole and Aaron Alston for proving that Starfighter books could work. And
hmm
yeah,
we got Kraken as well, back at his old
yeah.
head of security or head of intelligence job, which is nice.
Kraken open some Imperials with the boys.
Hmm. Getting the old dossier completed.
Mm-hmm. Gonna bring that
The
up at
po-
Corin's trial.
hmm What else? Oh yeah, I like the part where they go on that planet, the droid planet.
Yeah.
I'm just reading my notes here, and one of my notes is droids and humans. This is the future liberals want, because they're like it's like the Empire, and they're like, oh, look what the rebels have done. The droids are like living with the humans and shit, and it's just like, uh, how did you think about the portrayal of the imps? Like, I'm kind of mixed because I do like that they're presented at people, but like at some point, they're like I think they're a little too like loving of each other and like they're always like holding hands or like staying up late and like talking and stuff or whatever, but it's like they're genociding things and like maybe that's the message, but like I don't know if I buy that's how people work.
I I think it is. Like, yeah, they're genociding people, but they don't see them, like maybe they do see themselves as the bad guys at this point, but like that
Hmm.
doesn't mean the rest of their day they're sitting there twirling their mustaches thinking, "Uh-huh." Like no one thinks, especially going into it, that they're the bad guys. And with
Hmm.
Operation Cinder or Endor, like, or Alderaan, there are these points where like a lot of them are kind of realizing we're on the wrong side and we're doing these things. But at their core, they're still going to be thinking of themselves as good people.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of what the book is trying to get to. And that's why he's kind of has more trouble getting to the point that Quell gets to, where like there has to be some level of responsibility. Like the question of where did the stop has to start with them taking responsibility for, or them actually stopping before anyone can decide where does
Hmm.
the limits of justice come in. But to get there, you also can't necessarily have them be uh, just mustache twirlingly evil at all points of their day.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I guess part of me feels like something would happen to you after you do so much.
Yeah, but those are their co-conspirators as well. Those are the people that are like, we've got each other's backs. It's us against the galaxy. Civilian
Hmm.
lives don't matter anymore. We're willing to pay with those for our freedom. Like they're doing all these things while they're in the midst of committing these atrocities, and that's how
Hmm.
throughout human history, that's how the people committing those atrocities have seen themselves and justified their actions. Or like at best it's saying, oh, this is, I have no choice. If I didn't do this, someone else would. But then you go far enough up the chain of command and they're all making the same excuse,
Hmm.
and very few of them are not going to go and hang out with their friends and act like they're still normal people.
I think it's a little too easy to label them all as like, and I know it doesn't do that, but like, I don't know. I think there's more than just like the evilness of the actions on the person there. Like, I think to get to that level, even in the Empire, you got to have like some sort of serious personality flaw, like Quell does.
Yeah, and that's why we kind of see how differently she used to act among the Imperials versus how she acts after going to the other side and kind of
Hmm.
being forced to come to terms, at least internally, with the fact that she did these things, and like not everyone's doing these things. Because
Hmm.
there is kind of, when that is your entire world, there is going to be kind of a sense of like, oh, what I'm doing, this is just standard. It normalizes it for them,
Hmm.
and that'd be part of what exposing it is. Like, there's always been horrible people doing horrible shit, or horrible shit being done, and people just kind of get on with whatever they're doing, whether they're just kind of sitting around while it happens elsewhere, or whether they're actively participating in it. Like,
Hmm.
it's very clear to do those scenes like the night after they have just burned everyone on a planet.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. I do get it.
Like maybe they all go and cry in their room afterwards because they realize the gravity of what they're doing,
Hmm.
but when they're around each other, they're either distracted or kind of with people who they know are going through the same thing that they are. Maybe some are more pro what they're doing than others, but you, I think part of the message of the book is like there's not ever going to be a clear sign of like this person is evil and hasn't atoned, and this person is evil and has atoned, and this person's not evil,
Hmm.
and that's going to be clear in their actions. Like you can have a
Yeah,
serial killer
I
clown
guess
that's going
maybe I'm
to
thinking
birthday
like,
parties.
I guess the question is like, to what degree, like, how serious do you think this indoctrination is, and like, I don't know. It's, I mean, I'm not indoctrinated to too many things, um, but I
Just
don't
our
know.
good friends over at Skill.
Yeah, I invite ramen. I did a Skillshare promo today actually, but I don't know. It's because they talk about, a lot of Imperials left after Operation Cinder, after the Death Star. So it's like the people that are remaining.
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess it's an interesting question.
Yeah, but like they're the people who are left. But that's not their whole day. It's just
I
part of who
mean,
they are.
they read a lot. They journal.
Yeah. Some of
Okay,
them have Twitter accounts.
a lot that I've seen lately.
All of them have Parlor accounts.
Yeah.
Like I get what you're saying, but like I think part of what the book's doing is kind of getting at like you can't expect evil to always be Palpatine's wrinkly face, right? Like
No, you can't. But like, I don't know. It's just like they're so in deep at this point. Like, I I think there's a limit to indoctrination. There's a limit to how much you can write off as military and being with your brothers and sisters and yeah. But I don't know. It's interesting, and it's not a complaint I have with the book. It's just something I wasn't sure about, I guess.
But there's a lot
But
of that with with Nazi Germany towards the end stages of the war as well,
mhm,
where like a lot of towns that were near concentration camps at the very least, like there's questions of how much everyone knew, but there were
mhm,
a lot of towns that had the mass graves in and next to them, and you could smell the bodies.
mhm,
But how complicit are those people? Like that's kind of more what it's getting to, the point
yeah,
that it's getting to.
mhm, yeah. Okay. My next note is a much more interesting one. I wrote tie turbo laser. Did you pick that up?
No.
There's a tie with a turbo laser on it.
Well, there's also the ties with the hyperspace rings, which they
Hmm.
apparently use a couple times. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, they got the junkyard ties, and
yeah.
glad the tie turbo's back.
Did we? Why didn't we get like a couple tie advance and uh,
Yeah, I was waiting for like a defender or something.
we get like every New Republic starfighter under the sun, but the Imperials, it's like all tie fighters basically. Kind of
Mm,
rude.
hmm.
Why
Yeah, like
can't
we
they
got the
have their mixed
T-70. I thought that
intelligence
was
group?
cool.
Yeah, that has that shown up this early before.
I don't think so. Let me see. I don't really remember it. I
Because
don't think it's in Aftermath or anything.
it's just it's the T-70, right, that she has.
Hmm. Prototype, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Eh, don't bother me. I thought it was cool.
yeah, I was just trying to see if the timeline on that had been established before.
I don't think so.
We go.
My other question is, did you okay, so remember when Will crashes and he's rescued by um the Imperial?
Yep.
I thought that was Del Mico at first, for sure. But then I remembered
Mhm.
he's not wearing his Imperial outfit at that point anymore.
I thought it was intended to be one of the maybe one of the 204th. I guess 204th would know him more intimately than just saying, "Oh, we've heard of you." So,
Yeah. Yeah. I just
but
thought
yeah,
it was one of the
he would have been
he was out of his imp stuff at that point.
yeah.
But I thought that was a good ending for his character. Like he put in the effort, he got saved.
Yeah. Just
But
maybe
let's
not have him have too close calls in the same
mhm.
section.
So what did you think about, because there's the ending and then there's the real ending. Like there's a flash forward like what, 5 years or something, or 10
Yeah, it's
years?
6 years later.
Will's the senator, Chas and what's her name are together,
Erica.
which is kind of something they hinted at in the last book, which I liked. Um I think I liked most of that. Like I think it was realistic, like whereas like Chas is really struggling for a while, and like she's definitely happier now, like with Erica, but like I still think she's dealing with a lot. Like she doesn't get a completely happy end. Um,
Yeah, like they're all still dealing with. Even Will is kind of
mhm.
he's having nightmares, staying up,
Well, they
or like
lost a lot
he.
of people. Like
Yeah,
especially like they lost basically two or three ships worth of people. It's
yeah.
like everyone on the Lodestar died. Everyone on their prior missions died. Most people on the Star Destroyer died.
Yeah. And Erica is thinking like, oh, also all those Imperials I served with, maybe I won't bring them up though.
Hmm. Yeah, which I liked. I also like the melodramatic. I liked the end of the Battle of Jakku where like they're saying each other's names and stuff, like the names of their fallen. And it's just like
Mhm.
this shit's so pointless, but like at this point we just gotta finish it, which I thought
Yeah,
was kind of like it's like we're beyond any real reason of fighting each other. It's just like we just gotta finish it now.
yeah. Well, Will even says like, I think it's Will. Like, why don't we just leave them at Jakku?
Hmm.
And I get what he's saying, but like the Imperials aren't massing their forces to just say this is our planet and we're now
We like sand.
we're now the Empire of Jakku.
Spice must flow.
Like they were definitely going to attack everyone around them, and
Oh yeah, yeah for sure.
so like, I sympathize with where Will's coming from, but there was still going to be a Star War.
Yeah, and I I don't know. I don't like that Will didn't go in the last battle. They needed him. Like, I get. I guess he's the only person who's really putting his like personal ethics above like, you know, the team. I guess if more imps had done that, it would have turned out differently.
Yeah, and he's still helping.
Sort of, but
Well, he's helping in a more non-combatant role, but he does accidentally stop the ship from blowing up, sort of.
yeah,
It mostly does still blow up.
yeah, no, it blows up. And I do like how Hera escapes with the ghost too.
It is kind of weird that she gets to reserve just a whole hangar
Yeah.
that they stumble on earlier for her personal
Mhm.
ship, but I don't know if it's common practice for the commanders to like cordon off an
I
entire
mean,
bay for just the one shuttle.
probably
Because it
Thrawn
seemed like it
has
was in a
one.
bigger one.
Thrawn has a personal bay that he usually keeps like whatever bullshit he's working on.
Well, it
Like
seemed like
he's
it was a
always
pretty sizable bay, like not just one, like an
well, it was for
officer's bay off to the side.
their ground stuff, and they didn't have any ground troops to be
Fair enough.
ground. Like they didn't
Right.
have an AT-AT.
I'll give Hera a pass this time, but if I hear that anymore,
But I also like how Nath just fucked off. Like he's like, this is bullshit. I'm not fighting anymore.
he just does full circle back to where he was.
Mm-hmm.
Will said, "You're kind of not a good person."
Yeah. Did you pick up like they definitely open up the possibility for like a spin-off book with Nath and all his like new friends?
Yeah, all the Imperials, what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping Will would go with them and kind of be their moral guide or something, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe he'll show up. I am kind of happy he wasn't at the last meeting because it would have felt a bit too contrived. Like, oh, we
Mm-hmm.
all had an Alphabet Squadron reunion and like Butterfly Kairos flew in or something. I did think at first that it would just be Kairos that wasn't there, but what
I
did
gotta
she
say,
turn into?
that was probably the biggest disappointment for me. I was expecting more of an answer for Kairos.
Yeah. Like, I think overall her story worked out well, and I would have been probably happier with like a metaphorical this is me coming out of my chrysalis and I'm a new
Yeah.
person now, and maybe down the road she comes out of whatever her species actual chrysalis is and becomes whatever. But the fact that she just like starts dripping scales in front of Eureka, it's like
Well, it's
kind of
just like
gross.
in books 1 and 2, they paint her as very important. So I was waiting for like, why? Is it because she's a really good fighter? Like,
Yeah.
or maybe that was just what's his name's like personal connection, Aiden's
Yeah.
connection with her.
Yeah,
I guess.
that was mostly just the personal connection between like her, Ito, and Kane,
Mm-hmm.
but Karen. But
Mm-hmm.
I was I'm glad we got like the look at her homeworld, but
Mm-hmm.
I do wish we kind of like I just is she a butterfly? Is she a human? Does she like drop her scales and become a human? Because Erika was saying she did look kind of fleshy though. So
Her homeworld was creepy, man.
yeah, I don't like it. It's I don't want to go there.
No, it had like almost like Lovecraftian vibe to it.
Hmm. I'm really hoping that we get to revisit out of all of them, Kairos maybe have something just more on what she's
Kara just
doing.
catching bugs in her web.
Yeah. It's like having Will's Truth and Reconciliation project going forward. That would be kind of nice to have in the background, maybe. I don't know if it needs like a full book. Maybe Nath's thing could be interesting. Maybe a video game as you're playing as Nath's merry band of people. It's like a. Oh, did he die? You're still in
No,
voice
I'm
at
still
least.
here.
Okay.
What happened?
Your camera died.
Oh, let's see if I can fix it. Sorry.
But yeah, the we could have. Let me pitch this to you. What's that shitty pirate game?
Sea of Thieves?
Sea of Thieves, but instead it's Star Wars Sea of Thieves specifically as Nath Tensent. What do you think? Hey, we got another co-host.
Yeah, I was going to get Murphy. No, I think maybe not Sea of Thieves, but maybe like I don't know, like something.
Adorable.
Like there is possibility for that story. Like I know you're kind of memeing, but
No, the form is memeing, but I do
yeah,
think that I do agree with you.
and I do think it was on purpose as well. What do you think, Murph? Sorry, audio only listeners. I just picked my dog up. Oh, God. No, any more thoughts though?
I don't think I have any more specific topics to bring up. If you want to maybe jump to some emails.
Sure. Let me just. I got it on my phone, so just 1 second.
All
Okay,
right.
so we didn't have as many as I thought, guys. Considering we went like 4 weeks, but
Yeah, how
all right.
dare you not do your jobs, everyone? Well, we're taking time off.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the first one. What was the last day? I can't remember how far back we are.
I think I can actually. No, I don't know the password. Come on,
Congratulations
guys.
to Tapcaf Transmissions, now ranked 220 on the Apple Podcast TV and Film chart in Poland. Come on, Poland, step it up. So we got one from Parker. He says, "After Crimson Empire, did you feel that the ending was good enough for a version of Star Wars Clint Eastwood?" Talking
For
about Kirk Hanos.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
apparently it's good enough for a mislabel action figure that's now been corrected at least. So that was something we could have brought up at the start,
Yeah,
but
it was very timely, and I still didn't. Excuse me, I still didn't realize until someone pointed it out to me.
hmm,
So,
yeah. I who was expecting like was it Black Series?
hmm
Yeah, I wasn't expecting either of them to get one. So having a combined Kirkanos, Karnor, Jax, there's something about like the playing a foil for each other, identity of Karnor and Kerr and what they've been through. I think it was
hmm
just all a metaphor for their experience in those comics.
totally. We got a quite long email from Aaron. I'm just gonna pick one because we do have a few questions to go through. One interesting difference between Star Wars and BSG, Battlestar Galactica universe, has to be how starfighters maneuver in space. BSG Vipers you use retro thrusters and whatnot. Where sorry, my voice is really starting to struggle now. Where Star Wars has fighter jet style. Which do you prefer? Personally, I think BSG proves zero G can be visually exciting and interesting in space. Yeah, I agree. BSG has really cool fighter battles. Oh, my throat's starting to go. Especially like, sorry, I'm actually dying. Especially the launching and
Oh.
the, yeah, I don't know. They're both cool. Do you have one that you prefer?
Yeah, I kind of like that Star Wars has a bit less on the technical side. Uh, I feel like the more rules you pile onto Star Wars for it, the harder it's going to be for different authors to deal with it consistently. So I'm kind of okay with being.
hmm
I think the end result is a bit just more simplistic, and I think that
Yeah.
kind of is part of it.
Um, Jacob asks,
I'm
Are
logged
you
in.
could okay? I'll get this next one. You get the one after that.
Okay.
Are you guys concerned that Disney is going to insert too much content between the originals and the sequels? If they have like a Thrawn threat and whatever else threat, basically, is the current canon allowing of these big events, or is it going to be a problem?
I think it's fine. Like,
Hmm?
there's nothing that's really been established in the sequel trilogy that preempts kind of
hmm
fleshing out the development and fall of the New Republic and the emergence of the First Order, and like maybe Leia starts off what becomes the Resistance by like being one of the more active and saying we need to actively pursue threats against the Empire. Like I think there's still a lot more room for that because like the First Order is separate from the Empire enough that you don't need to worry about like, oh, have we crushed the Empire too much or too
hmm
little by the time the sequels roll around? Because we have a good 30 years of time there. Like we know the New Republic had a considerable fleet. We know that like the Radis was formerly a New Republic ship for because like
And there's like
there's
a
a good
million of
amount
them.
of development. Yeah, there's a good amount of development that happens. Like they had a reason to build all this stuff before they
hmm
decided, okay, maybe we're done. Because like Legends goes through the same thing, where by the start of the Yuzon Vong War, they've made all these giant weapons, but they're also kind of phasing things out. A lot's been mothballed,
Yeah.
and so I think there is a lot of room there,
Yeah. No, I agree.
especially if there are more characters like uh kind of like what we got here where we can explore different people's stories. We do know a lot more about what happens with some of the kind of big name OT characters. There's less to do with the Jedi.
hmm
I feel like that's going to be the thing where it's most limited is like we know Luke's Jedi Academy doesn't really take off very well. We know it kind of goes up in flames and when it goes up in flames. But other than
Mhm.
that, it is a fairly open
Yeah,
period.
the biggest issue right now is Bloodline, but that's just a book they've written around books before.
Yeah.
So, good question though. Do you want to get the next one?
So this is from Attilas, who says, according to Shadowfall, 2 members of Vanguard were killed in the Battle of Cerberin system shortly after the events of Squadrons. Which 2 do you think they are? Neither is Frisk. He's mentioned by name in the book. Do you think they're some of the 5 members in Squadrons, or do you think there are other members of Vanguard we don't know about, and they were just split off from
Mm,
the rest of the squadron during the event of Squadrons?
I think they're probably meant to be others.
Yeah, because Attila mentions here like there are only 5 in Squadrons, so I think it's probably a fair assumption that there were
Mhm.
more off-screen squadron members, and just
Yeah.
within the scope of what you're doing in Squadrons, it makes sense to
Uh,
not go beyond it.
Joel asked this question. I think we kind of answered just about whether the Fall of the Empire is making more sense, and yeah, they're they're getting there. I think, and they could still add a lot more warlords and stuff. So
Yeah. Especially if they are, because they do seem to be talking about the Empire as separate from these kind of Chadawa style break off individual planets or sectors, and there are other Imperial groups that we kind of do know already are out there. So I think it's pretty open
no,
ended
I
in how
agree.
it can be dealt with. I think
I agree.
that's one of my biggest things with the new canon, where I think there was a bit too much of a sky is falling mentality.
Hmm.
Uh, where like I think we're okay with that. It's probably going to be fine.
Hmm.
What's next?
Get one from Paul. He's got 3 questions here. Well, his third point is that his mother-in-law he convinced her to read the Revenge of the Sith novelization, and she loved it. Now she's reading the X-wing books. That's hilarious. You should tweet that to Michael Stackpole. I think he'd really enjoy
Yeah,
that. He asked about Star Wars science adventure books. I mean, I've never heard of those. He says
me
they're pretty
neither.
obscure. I'll look into them, but I mean, we're not going to say no to anything. But I'd say science adventure is not on our must cover.
Yeah.
Then he
Well, who
asks a
knows how
question.
long we'll go on for? Maybe, maybe it will be. Maybe we'll do
Yeah.
it next week.
Let us know what you guys want us to do next week. By the way, Tapcaf Transmissions at gmail.com. He asks. Uh, I'd like to. He points out that a character in Droids, which is it Droids? No, it's Ewoks that's going on Disney Plus now, right? Is there's a character named Kybo Ren, which yes is very similar to Kylo Ren. So yeah, that's funny.
Uh, Next email is from Flying Sniper, who sent us a meme which I can't get up on screen. It is a good meme.
Yeah,
It's
it's David Bowie and is that Kirk Canos?
is that supposed to be? I don't
Luke?
think
No,
I
that's
think it's
Luke.
Luke,
It's Luke. Yeah,
because there are a few people who end up looking like Bowie and like each other in
he
Crimson
does look a
Empire.
lot like Bowie. Like yeah, Bowie kind of looks like my mom in that picture. She's like kind of meaner looking.
I think everyone's mom kind of looks like Bowie at times.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Then our
The
next
hair.
question is from Adideo, who wants to know if we would like to make $40
Yes.
every 10 minutes, we can get 100% free
Yes.
access to the same secret trick that they're using in passive online income.
Wait,
So
his email's Adeo, but he's signing off as Larry K.
Larry King is emailing us from beyond the grave.
Wow.
Huh.
Huh.
Caesar's asking, good evening, Eck. I want to know your opinion on something related to the Mandalorian if Moff Gideon wasn't a skilled
Sorry,
fighter.
Corey. Shut up.
Okay, you want to read it? Oh.
No, sorry. I'm sorry.
How do you think he beat Bo-Katan and claimed the Darksaber? I think we'll probably find that out in a different separate story, right? Like I don't think that was
Gideon's not a bad fighter, but yeah, he definitely didn't. He definitely didn't take it. What he did is he probably led the siege of Mandalore, or not the siege, whatever the new. There's some sort of new Imperial attack on Mandalore, and I assume. Well, we know he was the commander there, so I guess
yeah, he got it through
he
nefarious
plundered
political
it
means.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You got a good one from Luke. I think you should read.
Luke says, just want to say I love Tapcaf Transmissions. Listening to you has become a weekly routine for me, which I look forward to each week. Sorry about that. Only recently noticed in the X-Wing novels, Isard has 2 different color eyes. One blue to depict her icy cold personality, while the other is red to convey her fiery hot fits of rage. I'd love it if you mentioned it on the podcast, as I've never heard anyone all mention it before. I'll leave you with a meme I made. Isard and her clone after being outsmarted by Rogue Squad. It's
picture of 2 animals. It's a cat and a dog with each of different color eyes. What's that called again?
heterochromia.
Chromia or something? Yeah.
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 I don't know. I'd have to go back and read the books. I don't think I ever picked up on that. It's kind of subtle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do wish like that would be something that like I wish they did play it up a bit more, because like we completely missed it.
Personalities.
Yeah, we completely missed it in our original go over of the books. But maybe we'll revisit the X-Wing books at some point and kind of see what we can get from that. Like, see if we pick up on any of those kind of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But our next questions, from Attila again.
Got a couple. His second one, which I got open now, so I'll just read. It seems short. What happened to the Pursuer, which is the Star Destroyer in Alphabet 1? I assume it was just destroyed at Panem I, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it gets kind of scuttled.
Yeah, it was already in rough shape.
Yeah.
Like,
all the Imperial stuff kind of gets mentioned as being like patched together for the 16th time. He's also asking about the new Separatist Union in the book. Do you think it has something to do with Kalani? And also, do you think Nath could show up in another piece of media, which we kind of just talked about?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's definitely going to be. I do like the idea that like now that the New Republic's in control, all these like jackasses are showing back up with like their cults and their unions. Woo. Shit like that.
Did you just like channel Jeff Bezos or something?
Yeah, it was supposed to be.
Somewhere Jeff Bezos just like woke up and like cold sweat.
What the hell? I just got 10,000 Twitch Prime subs. Sick.
Jeff Bezos just streams on Twitch so he can get his money back.
Hey, that's how you get rich, man. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's I don't know if it's meant to be like CIS resurgent. What if the next set of books after the sequel trilogy is about the new CIS? That'd be fun.
Kalani really still around? The super battle droid or super
the tactical droid.
Right? Yeah.
I thought Kalani died, but that's not one of my stronger points.
I guess not. You're watching Rebels now, aren't you?
Yeah, slowly.
Did you get to that episode yet?
No, I think we're barely into season 2. We started watching Supernatural.
So it might be season 4.
We could do an episode on Supernatural next. That'd be really fun.
Season 5.
But our last question today.
Season 5 of Clone Wars. There's not 5 seasons of Rebels.
No, there's 4. Yeah. Sadly, until Rangers of the New Republic.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot just how prominent Ahsoka is in Rebels and like how early she shows up. It's like I always thought of it as like one of the later show things, but like no, she's there pretty much right away.
But it was kind of like the opposite. Like she shows up early, but for what I think her entrance is a bit subdued, but she's not in too much like after those first few arcs, I guess.
No. But I thought it was like a big reveal later, but no. I did think it was kind of weird.
It's a big reveal when they find her again.
Yeah.
Because she gets stuck.
I did think it was kind of weird that it was, it seemed like Hera was Freed was going out of his way to mention Kanan by name. Because I think Hera keeps referring to him as my husband and Jason's father. But I don't think the name Kanan ever gets actually written in the book. I'd have to control F it, but I don't think it does.
Maybe, I don't know. I wonder why.
Maybe she's not come to terms with it yet, but
could be.
But our final email here from Nick, who says, really enjoying the podcast and the discussion about Victorious Price. Just wanted to comment on something Eck was mentioning, re-indoctrination. It's not so much that they're indoctrinated, it's that they need to believe what they're doing. Something seen among those who commit atrocities in the real world. much every case, atrocities are committed based on a lie. Even a lot of people who participate in the atrocities don't even necessarily believe the reasoning behind the crimes. However, once they participate in the actions, they need to believe the lie, because otherwise they have to face and accept that they committed mass murder and genocide based on something that was fundamentally false. And that is just something extraordinarily difficult for people to accept.
Thanks for the feedback. I think you got some good points there. Yeah. Final rating time. Corey, you
Final
already
rating.
gave yours away.
This is going in my D tier. Like, didn't like it very much. It's in the S tier for me. I'm not gonna be worrying about sorting my tiers internally, but I really love it. Love the trilogy. Sad it's over, but I spent a year looking forward to this book coming up, and it didn't disappoint. So,
oh yeah, me too.
how about you?
S tier for sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that. I thought you'd
Why?
be putting it like maybe A. I don't think you put Shadowfall or Alphabet in S. I thought
It
you
was
had
my
this.
favorite of them. So
Okay.
like the Battlejack coup was part of it. They got original music for the audiobook. That was really good too. And I think that's
That is pretty epic.
yeah. It was really like really well done.
So, any thoughts before we go on next week that popped into your mind?
No, I'm still not sure what we're gonna do, guys. If you've got feedback, let us know. We had something, but I don't remember. I mean, we could do Jedi Prince. We could.
Well, I feel like before we get into another juvenile book series, and I'm not using that as a derogatory term, I'm just using the classification system that exists. Take it up with other people, not me. We should probably finish Young Jedi Knights before we get into anything else that's young reader. But
okay, well, we'll figure it out. But yeah, give us feedback. Send us an email. Let me check podcast reviews because it has been a moment.
I refuse to talk to you outside of the podcast, so we need to decide now what we're doing next week.
Listen, I'll tell you what we're doing, and you'll listen. I'm sorry, I didn't feel good to say.
If you have questions for next week, regardless of what we decide to do, we'll be tweeting that out as soon as we have an answer. You can follow us on Twitter at Tapcaf Podcast. And you can email us at tapcaftransmissions@gmail.com.
There's some good new reviews.
Okay.
Let me see. These guys are kind of cool, I guess. 5 out of 5. A Harry Potter podcast that effectively ties in some Star Wars jokes. Great lineup of sleazy guests, example, British Jabba the Hutt. Maybe sometimes. 5 out of 5. Consider Me Bristled says, this podcast really bristles my stringy whiskers the right way, if you know what I mean. Listening to Yellow Dog Man and Fake Star Wars Explained unload an absolute dump truck of lore is the highlight of my week. It's such a relief that it's the only Star Wars podcast out there that's actually decent. Or no, sorry, it's such a relief that the only Star Wars podcast out there is actually decent. And then someone says, it does the job. Excellent show. Could probably use tighter focus. Guys, see if you can beat that for the next episode. Those are really good. Consider Me Bristled. Oh, sorry, that's not the guy's name. That's the subject. Anyway. Excellent. 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 Really well done.
Our last email is from someone who's conveniently named Victory's Price. Wow, what a coincidence.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah.
Subject line.
Yeah. Can you shut the fuck up? Like, I'm trying here. I'm sick.
You can't use that excuse for a month straight. Like, come on.
Dude, I'm still sick. I still am sick.
Okay, fine.
I'm going to bed immediately after this.
Okay. Well,
there are a few more reviews I found as well. Well, one more. And this one I should point out because he used our word. In the latest episode, the great dyad Justin EckhartsLadder and Corey Loses talk about the great Star Wars book, The Darksaber, which has the ghost of Callista and Jedi Master Luke Skywalker make sleazy moves on each other for better or worse. Best and only Star Wars podcast. Anything else is fake news. There's more of that. I checked a new site for podcasts because they're not all on one place. So to describe this in one word, epic. If you're like me, the diamond between the two. Thank you very much, Irish Phoenix.
Well, what word should we use for this week? Should we ask people to work in shitness? Is that I feel like that.
Shitness.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it? I used to say kiteness.
Well, yeah, that's correct. Mine's wrong, but
Okay. If you could work in kiteness, or if you could work in scab, I'd like that.
No.
Really, after a union talk?
Oh, scab.
Yeah.
I thought you said gab. It's like, no.
No, scab.
Okay.
Or like, if you could work in like, if you could work in strange as a noun, that would be really good.
Okay. There we go.
There we go.
Now we're putting qualifiers on the words. That's a new level for us.
I also gave them like 5 options, so.
Is this the first time? I feel like it's only been like once or twice that anyone's ever actually done this, and we just keep talking about it for way too much time. This is probably what Bristles was talking about when they said we lose focus.
That was somebody else who said that.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, Bristles would never insult us like that.
Okay. Well, part of why I didn't realize that is because I didn't have tight enough focus. So, either way, that is going to do it.
Your visual
for tonight.
scanning, loser.
That was in the first draft of episode 4. But good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Remember,